What's up, guys? What's up, friends?
Sole the friends, Sole. What's up, guys? What's up, friends?
Camera rolling.
What did we say about the Lord? He watches over us. We cannot hide.
Hey माँ, I'm waiting downstairs. आप तैयार हो?
आपसे तो मिलते रहेंगे, तो इसलिए आपको सिर्फ हैव अ नाइस डे।
So hello guys, I'm Asmi and this is Athar and welcome to Beyond the Frames and this is our series Pondering Over Frames. Today we are excited to have Pulkit Arora joining us. Pulkit is a talented Indian filmmaker behind critically acclaimed projects like Milk Toffee, Anu and Netflix's Home Stories. His short film Milk Toffee made its premiere at Tribeca in 2021 and went on to impress audiences at 8 international festivals. Pulkit's subsequent film Anu earned recognition at IFLA, competed at the Melbourne International Film Festival, and is now streaming globally on Mubi. As a screenwriter, Pulkit has played a key role in developing adaptation projects for Disney Plus and Netflix. We are thrilled to have Pulkit on the show today.
Hi
Hi, how
Athar,
are
hi.
you? Hi.
Good. I'm a little
Hi
sweaty, but
Pulkit, hi, this is Asmi.
hi Asmi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good. It's quite late in the day here, but luckily the days are quite long, so you have lots of light.
So, hi Pulkit, this is Athar, and like a few months back, I guess we took the movie subscription. Am I clearly audible to you?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like few months back, we took the movie subscription, and like it was a great experience actually. So, and we like I came upon your film. I don't know how, but it just showed, and I was like quite excited about the description it gave that it's about lockdown and all. So I watched it, and like I was mind blown. Like, how can someone just convey so many things without any dialogues? So like I just loved your style. So the question
Thank
I wanted to ask, or the question that popped up in my mind right then, was what was the concept, or how did you came up with that thought about the film? Like how did it came that uh, the characters or everything about the film? How did you form the concept in your mind? Was it anything that you read or you came across in newspapers? Like, of course, that was a difficult time, but yeah, just basically, what was the concept or how did it came to your mind?
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. I this one was completely auto-fictional. I was immigrating to New Zealand myself, and I had just made my first short, Milk Toffee, in India, and I enjoyed that process so much that I just wanted to make another short film as soon as possible. And I knew that I was going to be in New Zealand for a few months around the end of 2020. So I thought to myself, what do I know about the country that I can speak to in a way that's truthful and hopefully personal? But I hadn't lived here, so I didn't know very much about the world and how things function. So I knew that I was going to do 2 weeks of quarantine in a hotel room before I go into the country. So I knew I was going to go through that experience. And I thought, okay, I don't know New Zealand well, but I know that experience well. I'm going to know that experience quite well. So I basically told myself that I will use those 2 weeks to figure out how to tell a story in that hotel room and come out with a script and find a way to make it in the next few months. That was my goal to myself. But the way I got there was quite dramatic. I had an accident a couple of days before I left India, so I was wounded, and also I felt really sick on the way there. I got there and I was sneezing and I had a fever, and this felt like I definitely had COVID. I didn't have COVID. I had something else, but essentially I found myself in this hotel room kind of delirious. I was not in the right frame of mind, and I was by myself, just had an accident, and just left a life behind in India. So all of that kind of coalesced into, what if this was a story of somebody who came here wounded in some way, and had lost something in their immigration. And so that's where the idea began. And then I began thinking, okay, what if it was my mother but without my father? Because that codependency is so strong that I couldn't imagine one without the other. So I just sort of put myself in the perspective of what my mom would do in that situation. And that's where it kind of built up. And then the rest of it was just figuring out how to make it work as a story, how to make the character have something to pursue, which you can then figure out the emotional stuff around. Because a lot of films about grief are just like a person just sitting and processing emotions internally. And so the challenge was to find a way to externalize it somehow. And that's where it all kind of began.
Yeah,
Like you
that's
said,
great.
yeah, there was one thing in the film that I loved is I don't usually see like there Prabha was reading the old chats, like, and that's how she was remembering like her husband. And I find that very unique because in movies it's like you said, it's usually people sitting and thinking about it. And but this was a very beautiful way of expressing that she's missing her husband. So yeah, that's one of the things what I love about your movie. And like we were going through your Instagram, and there were we noticed something that you are so much into visual, like photographs. Your photographs are very random, like
Mm.
candid moments of wedding and something like that. Their sandals are spreaded somewhere in the ground. So it's, I wanted to say like your photography style influences how you construct like cinematic frames.
Yeah. Um, Not consciously. I think I when I watch films, I just love when a filmmaker is able to say a lot with with a very small detail or an object or the. To me, filmmaking is always about how can you say something without saying it or without spelling it out. Um, and so the idea of a pile of brown bags communicating distress or a broken phone implying the loss of a memory, that stuff feels like what I like to watch in films. I think it's a taste thing. So I think if you watch enough cinema, you develop a certain taste for what you like and what you don't like. The voice notes, for example, just came from me hating films where someone takes out a photograph of someone they lost and like moves it, like when they hold and they do a close-up of their thumbs over the photograph, and I'm like, nobody does that. Nobody sits down and takes out a photo album and takes out a photograph and then hums across it to feel grief. Grief is always inside you, no matter the photographs in your head. So I've wanted to find a way to communicate grief without the cliched ways of the sort of close up of the photograph, basically. And I had a relationship end quite recently before I wrote the film, and I remember how afraid I was of losing our WhatsApp chats when I was transitioning from one phone to the other, and how desperate I was to just keep all the chats. I never look at the chats. I never read through them because it's too painful. But I just wanted to have them. The idea of having them was so important to me. And so I think that was in the back of my head. And so that's where it came from. And I think the overlap between how I take photographs and how I shoot films, I think that just comes from liking a sense of intention and treating the audience with a certain amount of respect, that they can figure things out from a little amount of detail. They don't need to be told everything literally. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does.
Yeah, like we already noticed that there are no non-cliche things about, as you said, that photos coming up, and there are sometimes flashbacks of the person. That's not quite how we deal with the grief and pain. So yeah, that's something distinctive about your filmmaking. So as you mentioned about films, I'm going to ask a very cliche question that every interviewer does. How did your
Yeah.
journey into filmmaking begin? Like, was there some a film from some renowned director, or was there something like a piece of art that got you into filmmaking or inspired you to make films? Like there are stories about like directors during childhood watching some film and they get inspired by it. So is there any childhood story of you like anything else?
Unfortunately, no. I barely watched films for most of my childhood. Like there's my parents took me to the theater once in a while, but I would never have called myself a cinephile or a hobbyist in cinema. I stumbled into a screenwriting fellowship called AIB First Draft, run by AIB in 2016. Um, I applied without expecting anything and forgot about it. And through various dramatic things that happened in 2016, I kind of ended up in the fellowship, and the fellowship was actually the time where I got to fall in love with cinema. We had 6 months to basically spend all our time writing, reading screenplays, watching films, discussing films. So it was a gift, frankly. Like I most people don't get to have an experience that pure and connected with the medium. So those 6 months, and Satyanshu Singh, who started the program with Tanmay Bhatt, I think that program gave me the space to actually connect with the medium for the first time. So there wasn't a childhood thing. It wasn't a passion of mine growing up. I started at 24, which is quite late for people who start in film. And then the second time I started was when I began directing. And that, again, was not tied to a particular film. It was just tied with the fact that as a screenwriter, I felt like I had no control over the final outcome of what I made. So usually I would be writing for somebody else. And whether it gets made or not is a question. Even if it does get made, somebody else directs it. So they have the final sort of say on how it takes fruition. And so I had spent 4 years writing, and I just felt like I was frustrated with the lack of creative independence. So in 2020, I just wanted to see how it felt. And so I made Milk Toffee for my own money in a day in Goa, right before/during the pandemic, and just fell in love with the process. It was not the film. It was not a film that inspired me. It was the process that felt so good. It was so stressful and so high pressure and so taxing. But the moment I finished that film, I just wanted to make another one, and I just followed that instinct. So it's almost like I fell in love with films after I began making them, if that makes sense. It was the opposite. So I just tried doing it, liked how it felt, and then discovered films in the time afterwards. There are a few films that were either inspirations or references for Anu. One is a Greek film called Apples, by a man called Christos Nikou, I think, if I'm pronouncing that right. That is also about a man processing grief, but it's in a high concept premise of a memory loss epidemic, and it just tracks. Instead of focusing on the global effects of a memory loss epidemic, it just focuses on one man for whom the loss of his memory was a gift. And the way that's shot and the way that's told, it just really felt amazing to me. So that film was really front of brain for me when I was making Anu.
All right.
Yeah, that's great. That sums up the answer. Great one. Yeah.
Like I wanted to ask you, like you said that you put your own money on the film. So now, like is it difficult to find producers, or like how challenging is it to secure funding and support for independent films?
It's very challenging. The only reason I got to make the first film with my own money was nobody got paid, basically. People were doing it because they wanted to make a film at the time. It was COVID, so nobody had a job, so people had time. The main actor was a friend of mine. The extras were people I'd asked favors from. So that's all a miracle, and it cost like 50,000 rupees. But that the answer to that question depends on which system you're part of. So New Zealand, where I live now, there is public funding available for short films, which means it's taxpayer money funneled through arts organizations that the government runs. So you can apply for money there. It's very, very competitive, but at least you have a couple of transparent pathways to pursue in order to make a short. In India, there's no such thing. There's no short film funds run by the government, as far as I know. So I think making your own short that kind of keeps up with the global quality of short films in India would be quite difficult unless you already work for a production company or have paid your dues as an AD or something like that, and somebody was like, "Here, take some money, go make a short." So it's quite rare and it's quite difficult. And there is, I would say, a big barrier for people who don't come from privilege in making their first short. So yeah, I think I was lucky that my first short did well enough that I was entrusted with another one. I was lucky that I moved to New Zealand at a time that there was some money available to be applied for. And also, I was strategic in that I wrote a film set with one actor in one room. So I could make it for a very low amount. So that's, yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. And everybody has to find a way to hustle. And I wish it wasn't that way, but it's how it is.
Yeah, so I was just like putting it through. Is there some words of inspiration for upcoming filmmakers from your side? Something like that, which can like get to the audience and they get some hope of, yeah, they can tell their stories.
Okay, don't cut this part out. First of all, I don't think of me as someone who can give you inspiration. I haven't made a feature myself. I'm still making shorts, so I'm still figuring it out myself. So take this with a grain of salt. But I think the only thing I will say is to not wait for permission to make stuff. I think for a long time, especially when I was a writer, I just wanted to write when somebody would say, "Here, take this thing and develop it." And I never gave myself permission to figure out what I want to write, independent of the industry and independent of other people. And so things only really began moving, and my work became satisfying only when I wrote things that were personal and I believed in them. So if you believe in a story and you can put in the work and you can learn the craft and you have the tenacity to sort of stick with it regardless of how long it takes, I think that's when the work gets good. And most of the time when you wait for permission or funding or some sort of nudge from the world, one, it may or may not come, and two, then you're always making the work for someone else or for paying rent, and so I guess your connection with it becomes less strong. It becomes less authentic. So yeah, all I'd say is figure out what you want to do independent of other stuff and other people's voices and see how that feels.
Yeah, okay. We won't cut it out. That's a great answer.
Yeah, that's some really
Yeah,
great advice.
don't position me as some sort of guru. I would hate that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just one more from Asmi and one more from me, then we can wrap it up.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, like I know that you said that you're not a cinephile and you don't watch a lot of movies, but
I am
still.
now. I am definitely a cinephile
Okay, yeah,
now.
now. Okay, all right. Okay, so I wanted to ask that which is that film that has left the biggest impact on you recently?
Hmm. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, all right.
List somewhere.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay, I'll give you three. some might be easier to find than others. There's a Chinese film called Brief History of a Family that came out, I think, about a year or so ago, and I think it had a pretty good festival run, but I think it was not lauded as much as it should be. I think it's an exceptional film about class and drive and um, who deserves to be in a family and who doesn't, and the very idea of a meritocracy in a intrinsically unfair world. There's a film called Janet Planet, which came out last year as well, that I think is available now. A film that has really strong convictions in what it cares about and what it doesn't, and moves at its own pace, but in a really beautiful, deliberate way. The last one, maybe La Chimera by Alice Rohrwacher. It's an Italian film. It's got who's that guy who was in Challengers? Connor. It has Josh O'Connor in it.
Yeah, Josh O'Connor.
In this cursed bohemian man role that is incredibly compelling and sexy and good. Yeah, La Chimera.
Yeah. So guys, these are the recommendation. So the last question that I wanted to go, it's like I've mixed two questions, so like you can answer it quickly.
Okay.
First one is sub question. You can treat it as sub questions. So like the first one is the book you are currently reading, and the second one is that two of your short films focus on lockdown and COVID times. The Delivering Smile ones that you did for Netflix anthology, and the one is Anu. So like, was there a creativity boost in that period of you, or was there like there must be something significant in that time, yeah, even though it was out like tragic, but yeah. So what was that? If you can like say it in a few words.
The book that I'm reading is called Stargazers by Duncan Sarkis, who's a friend of mine. I'm lucky to call him a friend. He is a New Zealand author, and it's about the fall of democracy in the context of an alpaca breeding community. And the other book I'm reading is Ways of Seeing by John Berger, which used to be, is it John Berger? I don't know, I'm not sure. Which is a sort of a very famous and revered book of essays about ways of seeing, I guess, this point of view and perspective and what it means to be seen and to see people. Those two are the things that I'm reading. Lockdown, the reason, I mean, one half of that, why I have multiple lockdown things is because I just got lucky. Before the lockdown, I had worked on a lot of longer series that I gave a lot of time to, but they never actually got produced, as often happens. So I have a lot of work in those 3-4 years before the pandemic that never saw the light of day. And it's just that during the pandemic, I, one, began making my own stuff, so I had more control. And second, the work that came my way was pandemic related because that's what was happening at the time. I guess there is a component in the fact that it was a time where I was a little lost, like most people, but maybe more than most people. And I just had more time, and work was my only anchor. So I produced more work during that time than I would have otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. We hope that someday we can get you for more time. Like there are n number of questions still remaining for you.
That's all good. I hope I was of some help.
Yeah, that was a great help. All right. It was great to have you. We enjoyed a lot, and we hope to see you soon in some other Pondering Over Frames series. And yeah, we love your work, and we are looking forward to more from you. Yeah, great stories. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.